Networking and marketing made simple is for you, the business owner who has a product, a service, or a message that you believe in. My name is Scott Aaron, and each week we'll take a behind-the-scenes look into the real-world marketing and networking tactics and strategies for getting what you have in front of you to a lot more people. Thanks for spending time with me, and now let's get started. Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Networking and Marketing Made Simple. Super excited for today's episode, and I know all of you are as well. I know how much you love these interviews and hearing all the diverse backgrounds of all these entrepreneurs and business owners that come onto the show. And who I have for you today, it's a very interesting topic. It's more related to a specific genre and industry, actually referees in the world of sports, but also how it also affects the ability for them to also impact athletes from around the world. And it's based on performance. Now, here's the thing, whether you're an athlete or not, everyone is looking to increase their performance in business, increase their performance in life, increase their performance to be a better husband, a better mother, a father, all of those things. And we're going to dive into all that and more. So Nathan Sherritt, welcome to today's episode.
Thank you very much for having me, Scott. It's a real pleasure to join you.
So the topic of performance is obviously a very wide one, but the company that you have created, the Third Team, obviously you're based in the UK. But let's go back before we go forward. Prior to the inception of the company that you now own, what do you feel was that moment for you, that catalytic moment, that light bulb moment for you that gave you the idea about the Third Team and everything that you're doing now?
Well, it's actually a really interesting story, Scott, and I think you've really hit on something there in terms of the fact that for me, I was first and foremost a football referee. As a young man, I qualified as a football referee when I was 16 years of age, so I've been doing it for a very long time. And I was refereeing a game, and I'd probably been refereeing for maybe 4 or 5 seasons, so I was relatively experienced, and I'd seen quite a few things and a little bit battle hardened, you might say. So I went out to do a game, and it was a game that didn't have a massively competitive element to it in terms of the fact that the score was quite far apart. The game was over as a contest, and there was about 10 minutes left in the game, and I just heard a shout go up, and my line of sight to where the ball was and the players were was completely blocked. So what I saw when I moved angles, which was only maybe 1 or 2 seconds later, was 2 players sort of face to face with each other and sort of almost butting heads. And then one player did headbutt the other, and then he followed up by giving him a strong left hook to the face. And this left his opponent on the ground having a fit. It was quite a shocking incident, which adrenaline on the day got me through. But in reality, when I think back, in the days that followed, I was quite shocked by what happened. There was the police came, ambulance service came, there was a criminal investigation, and it was quite a serious situation. But I think that, like I say, in the days that followed, through reasons that had no fault to any one individual, I didn't have the support packages in places that I needed to help me deal with that. And I really did have one of those moments where I wanted to sort of give up almost for a short period of time. But I think if you're like me and you're a referee, it's in you like a bug, and you'll always come back to it ultimately the next weekend. But I didn't get the support I needed, and I'd never been pre-armed, I should say, not pro-armed, pre-armed with information and strategies to deal with these types of challenges. So that was what made me first want to do it, and the first, I suppose, driving factor to setting up the business was that want to pre-arm and to help referees to be prepared to deal with very, very challenging situations mentally, and also kind of looking after their mental well-being. Because as we know, with sports officials of any sports in any country in the world, the fans, the players, the club officials, none of them are your best friend. They all want you to give the decision their way, the way they see it. And in their favor, and it can be massively mentally taxing.
The interesting thing is, at the time of when we're recording this, it's in the midst of the NFL football playoffs, and my team is the Philadelphia Eagles. They just beat the New York Giants to advance to the NFC Championship game, and there is always scrutiny. There's always criticism. There's always pressure on the shoulders of the referees, whether it's a football referee, whether it's an NFL football referee, whether it's an umpire in baseball, whether it's a referee in basketball. There's always this pressure because it's the human element, right? So, we're not going to get every single call right. And there obviously is a lot of technology that's now involved, but I think mental awareness, but also I would say mental stability is also a big thing, because the amount of pressure that the referee wears on their shoulders, calling these games, because, sometimes the balance in the game hangs on the shoulders of these referees. A missed call or an improper call can swing that pendulum in the direction of the opposing team, and sometimes leads to a favorable and unfavorable result. So share with the audience, what are you, being a referee yourself first, and obviously seeing this hole and this gap, what was the I would say the biggest lesson that you learned in being a referee that allowed you to start this company, but also how can that be translated into everyday life? Because again, we're all responsible for our decisions. There's lessons and mistakes that we make and have to learn from. So how have these things that you've gone through yourself, but also now with the company that you have, not just impacted the demographic of the people that you serve, but how is that extended outside of just the world of referees and officials?
So I think that there's a lot to unpack there to an extent. I'm a blogger as well, as obviously podcasting and speaking to people in various different ways. And so obviously blogging is one of the ways I communicate with people. And what I do with my blogs is I write for referees. And I think that what I try to do is, within that, is to identify a lot of the challenges that we face. So, for example, a big topic that I'll be writing about towards the end of the season is, how do we prepare for the big games that are coming up, the relegation deciders, the promotion deciders, the cup finals, those types of things. How do we prepare referees for being ultimately unsuccessful in efforts to get promoted? That's a real killer. And I think that, if you're a HR manager, or if you are, working in a bank or whatever it might be, and you set your heart on that job role that you're applying for and you don't get it, how do you cope with that? So we're trying to help people to come to terms with that. Why has it not worked for them? What better could they do? How can we better prepare them and pre-arm them to get them into those positions? So I think that that's part of what I do in terms of talking, because these are common things that you experience. And sometimes I get a lot of officials getting in touch with me saying, actually, do you know what? I hadn't actually thought about that, but I do feel like that quite often. And I'm really glad you've written about that and given me something to think about how I might tackle that specific issue. So there's a lot of things that we try to look at is what is unique to the group. But I think that, another thing, obviously, what you're driving at there in terms of how it extends beyond, the refereeing and sport, and or refereeing or individual specific sport, and it goes beyond officiating, goes beyond sport, goes into more general walks of life. You touched on being a good family member, a good colleague, a good friend in the opening of this particular podcast, and now we're talking about how ultimately we're all performers at the end of the day. We're all looking to perform in one way or another. So if you are performing as a parent, you need to instill those good values into your son or daughter, so that you have the ability to see them grow up to be the person that you want them to be, and to achieve the things that you want them to achieve. When you go to work in an office or on a building site, or wherever the work environment that you might work in is, you can sometimes have a little think about, well, this is what I need to do, this is how I need to perform. If you're building a house, how many bricks do I need to lay today? If you're an accountant, how many tax returns do I need to deal with at this moment in time? If you are if you are working in a law firm, how do I get my client the outcome that they're looking for? These are all really important things, but equally they all bring pressures as well. Very much the same as refereeing. These are fundamentals of life, really. So as a referee, when I go out and perform, in football matches that I'm refereeing, there's an expectation that I can perform and deliver the game satisfactorily, and very much in the same way, if you're a lawyer, as I've just touched on there, your client's got an expectation you can deliver the outcome they're looking for satisfactorily. Ultimately, it's within your own interests, but it's really, really important that you bring up your children and give them the values that you want them to have. So there's so much of this idea of we're all performers, and there's so many aspects of that can then transcend, each aspect of our lives, and also can kind of seep into other parts of our lives, because we are many different people. We have many different aspects to our personality and what the makeup of us is. So, I might be a referee, but I might also be a husband or a father or a friend or a colleague or whatever it might be. And so we all play different roles, and we all need to perform within those different roles. So there's massive synergy and overlap and linking between every aspect of our lives, really. And I think that, maybe sometimes people are not as able to consider that.
I think another thing to understand is that it's never a bad thing to reach out to people for help. And there's a lot of people that want to kind of go at their own and kind of figure it out, and they may be burying or stuffing feelings or whatever it is. And again, I think as a performer, because again, I may not be an athletic performer, but a business performer, meaning, my wife and I do coaching, consulting, I speak, I do keynotes, that's an area of performance. And again, people need an outlet, whether that's having a community to support them, to get some things off of your chest or get feedback or advice, or whether that's just leaning on the shoulders of your significant other, a family member, a friend. And it's so important, because there's a lot of people that feel like they're all alone, they're all by themselves, and they don't have that, and that community, so to speak. And the brilliant thing about what you've created is you saw that, okay, I experienced this, there's hundreds of soccer matches going on each and every day. I can't imagine the multiple situations that may come up in a single match where, it's a certain experience that referee is having. And to be able to funnel those people into a community area where they're understood, they're related to, but also advice can be given, is such an important thing. So with that being said, how important is it to create a community aspect around what you do? And using myself and my wife as an example, we've created multiple communities for people because we help with marketing, branding, lead generation, online business building. So we have multiple pockets of communities that we support in helping them. How important has it been for you with what you've created to support that community of people that do need someone to lean on, time to time?
I think it's been really, really important, and you're quite right with communities, because I think there's almost a kind of, we're in that boat together type mentality when it comes to refereeing in particular, because we face the same challenges, and we're more of a minority group and a periphery group, because when you have 11 players on each team, and you have maybe 20 or 40 at a youth game, sort of spectators and club officials associated with each team, and then there's one young referee learning, developing, much like the players are at youth level. You can understand that referee is massively outnumbered when they turn up to that park to referee that game. So it's about, how do we build that community so that even though they may be going out on their own on a Saturday morning or a Sunday morning to referee football, they're actually part of a wider community of officials, and they're not on their own, because across the county or the region, or as maybe you would say in the US, across the state that you're in, there's hundreds of those referees doing exactly the same thing around the same time of a weekend. And very much when you talk about my business and how your business with your wife is actually supporting various different communities and reaching out to different groups with different aspects of the work that you're doing, I'm very much doing the same. I'm working with different communities of officials in terms of country, in terms of sport, in terms of levels that they're operating at. I'm working with people in the professional game, semi-professional game, grassroots game. All have got slightly different challenges, and we're trying to meet those needs and those demands in slightly different ways. And I think that, when you look at the kind of different work that we do, there's always that theme, and obviously I spoke about that a little bit earlier, that theme that runs through it all, that kind of seeps into different areas. And it's not just sport, as I mentioned to you before we came live here, I work with people in different, sectors in terms of the corporate sector, around law firms and accountancy firms and things like that, helping them with their culture and their well-being through mental health first aid and other training that I deliver. And I also work in education. I think often forgotten are youngsters. People think that youngsters are kind of, they're like made out of magic and they just bounce back and it's constant. You can never really get to them or hurt them too much. But I think there's a lot of vulnerability with young people who are in education, whether they be in university or college or secondary school or high school or kindergarten or nursery or whatever it might be, because actually there's a lot of pressure. And when I particularly work with youngsters that are doing their exams, what the US would say high school exams, what we would say GCSEs at secondary school in the UK, I'm trying to help them deal with the fact that they're, coming to 16, 17, 18 years of age. And there are a lot of peer pressures, societal pressures that come with being a teenager of that age bracket, put together with doing your exams at the same time of your life, pressure from parents, pressure from teachers, and also the pressure of actually the exams in the first place as well. What that pressure brings when you sit down on that day and that piece of paper is put down in front of you. How do you deal with that? So we're working with a number of different groups around these different things to help them deal with the pressure and a lot of the stress, and also to help them look after their well-being and be a lot more efficient in terms of doing that. So, obviously you're in North America, so you're in the same sort of how do we say, period of the year as we are. You might have some of our colleagues in sort of South Africa or Australia having summertime at the moment, but it's really, really important for us guys in the Northern Hemisphere that we get out and get as much daylight as possible, because it's at a premium at the moment. With it being winter, there's less daylight than there is obviously in summertime, and it's really important for things like vitamin D levels and our well-being overall that we try and take time out of our day, preferably in the middle of the day. Maybe you can go for a walk when you're having your lunch. It's really, really important that you can try and maybe get a bit of sunlight, because that's going to massively increase your well-being. And it's just little things like that we try to help a lot of the youngsters with, is having that balance of, you've got to work hard. You also need to make sure that you get what you need, vitamins, and so you can really have a good sense of well-being overall.
So before I get to my final question, for people that are interested in learning more about you, what you do, how you serve and help people, what's the best place and where can they go to find out more and connect with you?
So I think the best place that they can really visit is the Third Team website, www.thethirdteam.co.uk. And we've got a lot of resources on there. We've got free resources. We've got our new online course, which we just launched in the last couple of weeks, which is really, really reaching a lot of people, and we've had a really good launch with that, and it's gone really well. And also the opportunity to see those blogs for free, which I mentioned, which are a really golden resource for a lot of officials across the world. And I've just gone past 175 consecutive weeks of doing that, so that's just over sort of 3.5 years, I think. So we're really, really pleased with the way that's gone, and that's something that we like to put out every week. And we're reaching roughly 50,000 people a week, so we're really, really proud of that and pleased with the way that's going. And of course, it would be remiss of me to talk to you, Scott, without mentioning LinkedIn. A huge expert that I've got in front of me here in terms of LinkedIn. I would always welcome people to connect with myself and the third team on LinkedIn. And we've got a really, really good community built up on there as well.
Awesome. So all that information, obviously Nathan's company website, but also his LinkedIn URL will be in the description of this episode. So you're not going to have to travel too far to find it. So Nathan, final question before we sign off. What does success truly mean to you?
I think that to me, it's all about, am I enjoying what I'm doing? Am I happy? Am I fulfilled? And if I can tick those boxes, or even the majority of those boxes, I feel like I'm somewhere on the road to success. Clearly, there's always going to be failures, but I feel that success is an ultimate destination and failure are stopping points on that journey. So for me, if I feel I'm moving in the right direction and achieving things and making progress, then to me, that's success. I don't think you can ever truly get 100% success. It's something you'll always be striving for at some point in your life. But, for me, where things are going well, I'm enjoying what I'm doing and I'm happy. That to me is what success looks like.
Love that. And I could not agree more. And just want to thank you again for being on the show today and sharing your gift and all the things that you're doing and how you're supporting not just the community of referees that it started with, but all the other industries that you're now obviously helping to achieve, not just, peak performance, but also knowing that there's a community and an outlet for all of them to better themselves, their lives, and their businesses. So Nathan, thank you again for being here today.
It's been a pleasure, Scott. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. And as I said, all the information of how to connect with Nathan will be in the description of this episode. And if you are listening to this wherever to and from that is, please leave us a rating review on iTunes, on Spotify, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio, wherever this is from. But also, if you would like to unlock a bonus episode every single Friday, the podcast, Networking and Marketing Made Simple, has released its own subscription for $2.99. You can unlock a bonus episode every single Friday. So 4 bonus episodes that is not going to be shared anywhere else but those that subscribe. A link to start your subscription today will also be in the episode description. So everyone, please enjoy the rest of your days, and I'll talk to you next time. Bye, everyone. Thank you so much again for checking out today's episode. And if you are listening through iTunes, Spotify, wherever you are, please leave me a rating and review. Let me know what you loved, what you would like to see improved, or ideas you have for future episodes. And if you are interested in taking your business to the next level, don't hesitate to go to my website, www.scottaaron.net, where you can schedule a free discovery call with me, where I can learn more about you, your business, what you're struggling with, and how we can work together. And don't forget to check out my wife, Nancy, and mine, our free community on Facebook called LinkedIn Leads for Life. We would love to see you in there. Have a great rest of your day. And thank you everyone for your support. Grateful for each and every one of you.